Hey, man. Hey, what gives?
What?
So I got that game you recommended. You know, the indie farming one with the cute animals you said would be fun to play with my girlfriend?
Yeah?
Yeah, that's the last recommendation I take from you.
Whoa, wait, what happened?
Yeah, you know, I could take the bugs, because honestly, those were pretty funny.
Oh, I'm sorry, I had never noticed any major bugs.
Yeah, well, they're there. And I thought it was a little weird that we got 4 hours into the game and still hadn't planted any seeds yet.
How is that even possible?
I don't know. I should have noticed something was off when you had to carry the chickens around by the neck, but then when you had to shoot...
Whoa, shoot? Are you playing it modded?
No, this is the base game. Fresh install.
No, that doesn't sound like Stardew Valley.
Well, Stardew Valley?
Yeah, Stardew Valley, the game I recommended, the farming game.
Oh.
What game did you get?
Uh-oh.
Hi! Back when I was gathering footage for my work game video, my partner Anna told me about a particular simulator that might take the crown for best worst game, at least when it comes to janky simulators. Ranch Sim. I knew nothing about the game, but they loved it and I needed more footage. Plus they were kind enough to gift it to me on Steam, so I figured, why not? Let's give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? My computer explodes? We sat down to record what I thought would be a quick 30 minutes, you know, get in, get some footage, and then get out. Then go play one of our regular co-op games like LEGO Star Wars or Destiny 2. Instead, we ended up playing for 3 hours. And then again for a few hours. And then again. This game exemplifies everything wonderful and horrifying about that jank factor that I talked about in the previous video. It's strange, it's hilarious, but beyond that, I've noticed something else. Something more. I believe that Ranch Simulator is the twisted mirror version of one of the most popular indie games of all time, Stardew Valley. The two games share the same basic premise and several core characteristics, but they differ in ways that make for wildly different gameplay experiences. To dig a bit deeper, let's take a look through some of the opening sections of Ranch Sim and compare them to Stardew. Before we get started, please consider subscribing and maybe leaving a like. I know you hear it a lot, but it really does help the channel grow. We're coming up on 5,000 subs, which is insane. We might have already hit that by the time I'm done editing this. I don't know how long it's gonna take. So thank you so much for your support. And let's get back to the video. Right off the bat, we've got a similarity. Both games force you to customize your characters before you can start on your farming journey. Now, if you've been around the channel for a minute, you know that I love character customizers. I can have just as much fun cranking sliders to max and seeing how much I can violate the laws of evolution as I do playing the games themselves. Oh, the smile! Yeah! Stardew's customizer is somewhat limited since you're working with a small pixel art sprite, but they do manage to pack in quite a few options, including one of my personal favorites, full control of the color spectrum. I assume my options in Ranch Sim would be similarly limited, not due to the pixel art because the game's 3D, but because it seems like a lot of the assets for characters and animals come directly from the Unreal Marketplace. But, oh man, was I wrong. This thing has near Dark Souls levels of character customization, letting me make the RGB neon farmer boy of my dreams. Oh, he's so chapped. He's been sucking on a tailpipe. He's staring into my soul.
These are the eyes of a
killer Bella. He's the Grinch. Oh, he struts. The fact that he's gonna forever greet me at the menu is incredible. He's gonna stand in the corner of my room watching me like,
you sleep good now there, partner. You're gonna have a real good night if I have anything to say about it.
Also, just a minor side note, I think it's very important that I tell you that in a game all about working in nature, building large structures, and cleaning up after animals, you can elect to go barefoot all the time and just let those dogs out to breathe. Or you could do what I did and just wear socks that you never change out of. Socks. Oh, he's just on the farm in socks. That's happening. Those things are going to end up so crusty that they turn into boots. After creating a character, you're dropped into the world just outside of your property. The starting premise of Ranch Sim is surprisingly similar to Stardew Valley. On his deathbed, your grandpa leaves you a dilapidated plot of land that he hopes that you can turn into a thriving homestead. The way this premise is conveyed, however, is very different between the two games. Everything about Stardew's intro is heartfelt. Your grandpa passes peacefully in his bed, leaves you a sweet note that's meant to provide you with help when you're at a low point in your life. And your arrival at Stardew Valley is greeted with new friends, a full tour of the town, and gifts. Ranch Sim, you're dropped on a dirt road in front of a busted-ass gate like you're the Baudelaire kids at a new orphanage. And inside of a crumbling shed, you find a water-stained letter from your grandpa that reads more like, "This is your problem now," than an actual sentimental loving goodbye. There's no one to greet you, no tour of the town nearby, and based on the state of the homestead and the place that we found the note, I'm pretty sure our grandpa was either a serial killer or a vampire. Or both. Hell, to even further piss in your pasta, Grandpa's dune buggy is broken down and out of gas, and then you have to tear down what meager shelter you have left by hand and sleep in a tent. I guess it's at least a testament to our character's capabilities, because not only do we know enough about agriculture and animal husbandry to be entrusted with Grandpa's farm, but we're also apparently skilled carpenters, car mechanics, and hunters. Now, I have to give Ranch Sim credit where it's due, and the one thing that it does have that Stardew doesn't, it's a tutorial. When you launch the game and get started, you're regularly presented with pop-ups explaining the control scheme, as well as some onboarding quests to help familiarize you with the basics. You can skip these if you want and just get handed the tutorial freebies that you'd otherwise unlock, but for new players, it's very helpful to get you used to everything. Stardew takes a less hand-holdy approach and just gives you the tools with no explanation on how to use them. Now, before the Stardew fans come for my head, it does have some basic starter quests that encourage you to grow crops and talk to villagers. And I agree with many that the game is pretty intuitive and not too tricky to understand. But considering that Stardew is one of the most popular games for non-gamers, I'm surprised that it has so little in the way of tutorials, even just optional ones. Now, it's in those early missions and tutorials where the game's main focuses start to diverge. At its core, Stardew is a farming sim. The first thing that you're given in the game is a pack of seeds that you can use to grow crops. In the first several hours of gameplay, your main source of money comes from the crops that you grow and harvest. There's something nice and relaxing about being one with nature as you tend to your crops and harvest the fruits of your labor. It takes a lot of time and money and effort before you get to a point where animal products like milk and eggs are a major portion of your farm's income. This is not the case in Ranch Simulator. The tutorial doesn't include growing crops at all. And honestly, doing any sort of large-scale farming is expensive and time-consuming. I've now sunk over 10 hours into the game and have yet to grow more than a few tomatoes in a garden box. Instead, most of our ranch's income comes from animal products. The tutorial gave us 2 chickens that we quickly expanded on, and we also built a barn so that we could raise pigs. But to fund all of that? Wild meat. By the way, did I mention you can hunt in this game? While Stardew Valley features several mines and dungeons that you can harvest materials in and let your violent side loose for a little bit, the game otherwise takes a very peaceful approach to its world. Outside of those areas, your weapons are basically worthless. There's no creatures in the night posing any danger, and the only meat that you can regularly harvest for food or profit is fish, because apparently fish don't count as animals. Sorry, fish. Ranch Sim, on the other hand, wastes hardly any time handing you a gun in the tutorial and letting you go buck wild blasting deers, wolves, foxes, and even bears to harvest their meat. Hunting has been, and continues to be, the main source of income on our ranch so far. Every animal drops several pieces of wild meat that you can sell to the store or trade to the hunter for a quest that pays out even better money. Bullets are cheap, and the animals spawn regularly, so it's really just the best way to make money in the early game as far as I can tell. And looking at the shop items that you can buy, it's clear Ranch Sim prioritizes meat. Meat packing, sausage making. There's an entire fast food restaurant in-game serving as a dedicated meat quest provider.
Welcome to Best Burger. May I take your order?
Well, howdy there, partner. I'm the new rancher in town. Nice to meet you. Right. Not one for the meet and greet. Anywho, I heard that y'all got the best prices on meat round these parts, and whoo, ugh, I got me some to sell.
Yep, that's what we're paying.
Come on, buddy. You got some kind of beef?
What?
These prices, they're the worst.
Who's laughing?
Look, I'm just a guy trying to make ends meet. But these prices, they're highway ribbery.
Get out.
Even the animals you raise on your farm can be harvested for meat. In fact, it's a big part of why they're there. And sweet baby, dear Lord Almighty in heaven, is it a spectacle? This is all in contrast to the farming, which at its most base level asks you to build a garden box, which requires several trees worth of deforestation. You can only plant a maximum of 2 seeds in a garden box, and then either water each one by hand for several days, or purchase sprinklers, but those need a windmill, which is another $500 in metal, by the way. Only for the plant to produce a handful of material at best with each harvest, that tend to only sell for around $5 each on average, as opposed to wild meat's $15 each. And none of this is talking about large-scale farming, which involves buying a tractor and several attachments to work at scale, something we still haven't touched after almost a dozen hours in the game. The game also features beekeeping and oil drilling for some reason, and while we haven't gotten even remotely close to exploring the latter, honey is actually a pretty lucrative means of income once you get it up and running, so I can only imagine oil drilling is likely to be much more lucrative than farming as well. In summary, plants are for dweebs. Let's get away from animal products and profits though, and instead talk about another factor in the game: characters. Stardew Valley is famous for its great writing and how invested you get in building relationships with the characters. As you get settled in as a resident of Pelican Town, you learn every one of your neighbors, their likes and their dislikes, when their birthdays are. You can even fall in love and get married. To many people, Stardew is just as much, if not more so, a social simulator game than it is a farming sim. The citizens of the valley have their own routines, and you find your own as well. You can watch their lives play out over the years as you get more and more involved and get to be a respected and cherished member of their community. Ranch Sim's town, it's kind of like Silent Hill without the fog. The cars are driving by, sure, but there's no one stopping and getting out. No pedestrians walking the streets, no one chatting you up to say hello. There's 6 businesses in the game: the gas station, the general store, the bank, the burger restaurant, the car dealership, and the hardware store. None of these stores have you doing business with actual people. A few have human clerks that basically just serve to direct you to digital kiosks to do business, but the gas station is entirely self-service, so sorry New Jerseyans who don't know how to pump their own gas. And the hardware store has no one. Just like no one. It's just an open warehouse with an iPad for checkout that does business, I guess, on the honors system? They're lucky this is a video game and everything's glued to the floor, because otherwise I'd have cleared that place out weeks ago. Who's gonna stop me? The cops? There's no cops here. This is God's country. We don't have cops. Also, on the topic of shops, I just wanna know what the f is going on with the general store. Their catalog is massive, and yet not a single item is on their shelves. Even the vending machines are empty, and the one employee doesn't even do anything. She just sits there telling you to buy stuff at the terminal. Are they just airdropping goats and feed bags into the area on the fly? Now, surprisingly, both games do share the common trait of having dedicated casts of characters. Neither games have procedurally generated random NPCs walking around town to make it feel lived in, but lacking any soul. Instead, each character serves a unique purpose and fills a role in that town. Stardew features many friendly and memorable faces like Mayor Lewis, Harvey the Doctor, Robin the Carpenter, Clint. According to Stardew Valley Wiki, there's 46 unique NPCs, and almost every single one of them have distinct personalities and life stories. Now let me introduce you to Ranch Sim's cast. We have Shop Assistant 2, the banker with no name, this guy, Burger Boy. You can't actually talk to him, so I don't know what his name is. Chicken Lady, Ranch Tycoon, and Hunter. I was a bit disappointed when I found out none of these characters are romanceable. A Stardew Valley player is basically defined by the villager that they try to romance and eventually marry. How am I supposed to know what type of rancher I am if I can't try to win over the Chicken Lady? Or rizz up the shop assistant till she tells me where the hell they're hiding their merchandise? Is it in the back room? Why is your shop empty? Outside of assigning daily quests and delegating real work to computers, the cast of Ranch Simulator does nothing else. And I mean nothing. Even in the wee hours of the morning, the Chicken Lady has not left her porch. And our poor little Burger Boy is still stuck working the register even after the restaurant itself is closed and the customers are gone. It's disappointing, but honestly makes for a good visual metaphor for most of Ranch Simulator's larger world outside of your property. All the pieces are there. They just lack depth and substance. Now, before I wrap this up, I promised you jank. I've shown you some already throughout this video, but I've not touched on the bugs, glitches, and just overall strange gameplay decisions that Ranch Sim has in abundance.
What happened? Oh my god.
The animations and interactions with items are unique. Physics also just doesn't exist in the world of Ranch Sim, at least not the physics that we're used to here on Earth. Fall damage just doesn't exist, and I learned early on that if you can find the right orientation when placing an object, you can just kinda stack things infinitely, which led to me creating a stairway to heaven out of extra logs that we cut down. When you place items, they are firmly glued to the ground and become immovable objects to any creature or vehicle hoping to move them. Animals also apparently are glued to the ground when placed in the back of a truck, which is odd, but very convenient. Really, the truck bed is just a strange place in general. Anything placed in it stays put, even if you fully flip the vehicle. But if you stack things too high, I guess they forget that they're supposed to be in the truck bed and just kind of get left behind midair. The truck itself drives like you're on a sheet of ice. You go very fast in a singular direction, but if you try to turn, it quickly turns into Tokyo Drift, and 9 out of 10 times you end up in collisions with trees. The cars are indestructible though, so feel free to do whatever sort of sick, nasty flips your heart desires. See that sick jump? Beyond the weird physics engine, the game is just littered with random little bugs that make for a hilarious time. Weird traffic jams, indestructible deers tackling cars, vibrating character movements, skyrimming your way up a mountain. The list can go on. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, or even trying to give the dev team a hard time. For starters, making games is hard. I can't do it, I'm barely good at playing them. Like I said in my work games video, the jank factor is a big appeal for a lot of these simulators, and really just a lot of games in general. The comparisons to Stardew Valley aren't meant to convince you that one game is better than the other. I've got my own opinions on that, and I'm sure you can come to your own, but that's not what's important. I've been having a great time playing this game with my partner, and I wanted to share some of the insanity with all of you. My original approach to this video was actually going to be more of a let's play of our first play session, but as I got going, I started to see the similarities and differences to Stardew, and I wanted to explore that more. Are they the same game? Obviously not, but it's fun to look at how two games can take wildly different approaches to the same basic premise. I'm gonna call it there though. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe and let me know down in the comments what other games you want me to cover in the future. If you think this is the type of game that you would enjoy playing with friends or a significant other, let me know your recommendations as well. I'm always looking for more co-op games. Be sure to check me out over on Twitch. I stream a couple nights a week over there doing all sorts of stuff from horror Sundays to Yakuza Wednesdays to board games and cooking and whatever else we can think of. And yeah, that's it. Take care, be kind, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.